Hello, dear friends. This is a time of year when many people feel lonely, perhaps because a loved one is no longer with you. Chosen solitude is not a lack, but a liberation from interference. Opinion piece, rat race, forced dance, they are nevers, fierce competition, struggle for influence. The moment of truth arrives. Volatility of the global situation. The movie has already happened. Let's start. There is a rat race going on right now to see who will control the new world, according to Poet Talk. The situation is difficult for the bad guys right now. They are desperate to track the world down into the hole they are in. Trends and patterns indicate that they are trying to break the human spirit. They have been doing this for some time, but something is making them nervous. The expression rat race describes a lifestyle in which a person enters a repetitive cycle of working hard, earning money, and spending almost all of it, without achieving real progress. The metaphor comes from the image of a rat or hamster running on a wheel. It moves endlessly, but doesn't get anywhere. Robert Kiyosaki uses it to describe the cycle of working, getting paid, spending, and working again, which he proposes escaping through financial independence. This alludes to a frenetic and exhausting competition among powers, elites or global actors to dominate an emerging world order, similar to a vicious cycle of effort described in the metaphor. A struggle for influence is perceived, where nations and corporations compete endlessly for resources, data, or hegemony, evoking historical disputes. Alan Watts criticized the rat race as an ego-driven illusion where the people race for success, money, and status, unaware that there is no real finish line, only a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction. Watts described modern life as a forced dance rather than a natural flow. From childhood, society conditions us to race for grades, jobs, and more money, ignoring the present for an illusory future that never arrives. This race stems from the belief in a separate and needy ego, which competes against the world instead of recognizing its unity with it, turning existence into a mechanical trap. Liberation does not involve renouncing the world, but rather dissolving the ego through presence and acceptance. Life is a river that flows on its own, not a problem to be solved, and stopping reveals that freedom was always there. Rat Race is a comedy film directed by Jerry Zucker with a screenplay by Andrew Breckman. The script follows a disparate group of people in Las Vegas who, after winning gold coins at a casino, compete in a chaotic roulette race to be first to reach a locker in New Mexico containing $2 million. The climax involves crashes, cheating, and a massive end with an empty locker. Ratatouille tells the story of a rat with an exceptional talent for cooking who dreams of becoming a chef in Paris, despite the expectations of his colony and human prejudices against rodents. The film teaches that anyone can cook, highlighting that talent and passion transcend origins or appearances, as long as dreams are pursued with perseverance and true friendship. Prophecies. History is being written. Welcome to the Golden Age. Things are no longer announced. The warnings came years ago. Now reality prevails, according to Gold Telegraph. The most likely interpretation of the apocalyptic trumpets, according to Kavamur would be towns created by the motherships of the coalition of whales. The hour of patience has expired. The moment of truth has begun. The countdown has accelerated. Time itself propels you forward. It no longer asks if you are ready or not. The hourglass of the matrix is almost empty. Only a few grains remain, according to Kesheras. Remember, the light has already triumphed in the continuum outside of time and space. The movie has already happened and is playing for the sleepers. That's why it seems so outdated to us, the battle-weary light warriors. Hence all the yawning according to Sierra. The year 2026 won't simply arrive. It will erupt like a volcano with higher energies, according to Kesheras. A year full of upheaval, revelations, and unforgettable turning points is approaching, like a prophecy fulfilled. What has been hidden will come to the surface. What has remained immovable will fracture, and the old order will be broken under the force of the divine. What once seemed distant will appear unexpectedly, more real than anything you have ever seen. This is not just another year of the calendar. 2026 arrives like a tidal wave, the moment when the tide turns, the veils are lifted, and nothing that follows will ever be the same. The time has come. The seer Utsava has spoken for years about the new earth as a spiritual era of global awakening, liberation from the cabal, and collective transformation into a higher consciousness. She describes this process as part of the Great Awakening, where millions of human beings will be freed from the controlled matrix to enter a new era of peace, healing, and sovereignty. Animals and the planet will regenerate, heralding the end of darkness and the beginning of a new age. The process involves a gradual awakening, where aligned souls experience joy and divine service. Hopi prophecy. You were born for this time of transition. The unease you feel is not anxiety but remembrance. Certain souls choose to be born at this time of global transition, not to lead but to stabilize. If you have felt different, sensitive, or a little out of place, this message might explain why. Some people have a soul contract, a conscious agreement made before birth to incarnate during a time of global instability and transformation. Sensitivity, loneliness, and empathy are not weaknesses, but signs of a deeper role. Full thought summary. The volatility of the world situation means that some kind of Bretton Woods-type agreement is needed soon in order to calm the situation. Asian secret societies are demanding the disclosure of the secret space force and the sharing of space technology. The Dragon family is ready with $100 trillion in funding to support the new international architecture and public works projects to transform this planet into the paradise it is meant to be. There is a bill in Congress to create an Office of Fusion Energy as part of the Department of Energy. The Pentagon failed its financial audit for the 8th consecutive year, the Department of Defense said Friday. Scientists asked an artificial intelligence to design bacteriophages to attack bacteria. It produced a dozen fully functional bacteriophages. This means biology on demand. This technology could be used to create plagues or to design immortal humans. Europe. It appears that Germany will be the next domino to fall. Replacing all purchases of Russian oil and gas with American products has caused energy costs to rise, impoverished Germans, and forced the closure of more than 20% of its industry. The French government is also on its last legs. Farmers have blocked roads, dumped manure, and held demonstrations in France for over a week to protest the government handling of lumpy skin disease in cattle and a trade agreement with the South American bloc Mercosur. Intelligence sources say France will be bankrupt by March because it will be unable to roll over bonds that are due by them. The EU itself, after failing in its attempt to steal money from Russia, has promised to issue bonds worth 90 billion euros to stay afloat. The bonds would supposedly be backed by reparations Russia would pay after losing the war in Ukraine. It's hard to imagine an investor foolish enough to buy such bonds, given Russia's victory in Ukraine. In fact, the UK has begun unofficially talks with Russia to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. The plan envisions the Dnieper River as the border between Russia and Western Europe. Odessa would become a free port under Russian control. Furthermore, Russia would join NATO under this plan. The problem is Russia's insistence on denazification. This means the destruction of all clandestine laboratories where biological weapons are produced, and war crimes tribunals would be unavoidable. That is why the weak will fight tooth and nail to stay in power. They are trying to lock us in a digital prison before they can face justice. The Poles also denounced that Western governments are trying to approve laws are being passed to avoid labeling genetically modified foods. This would allow them to introduce antigens into the food supply. The nefarious will try to gradually introduce the system by 2029, but they will fail. The Chinese are already implementing the system. People with low social standing are becoming homeless as they are blocked from accessing their own money. This attempt to lock us all in a digital prison before we rebel is the real reason for the massive investments being made in artificial intelligence. Breaking news. We are entering collapse mode. Systemic corruption is undermining trust. The more you trust science, the more likely you are to die, according to HealthBot. Carl Sagan wrote, "The demon haunted the world in 1995. We should have paid attention." Newsom's Ground Zero law destroys the home gardens of 2 million Californians. All school shooters were taking any anti-anxiety or antidepressant medication, according to Dr. Brian Ardis, who agrees that some people are above all others. What kind of Christianity is that? Josh Galloway asks. Graham Hancock claims that the guardians of the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia refused to let anyone to see it because everyone who tries mysteriously falls ill. We have entered a new timeline according to Clandestine. All the pieces are aligning for 2026 to be the year of the offensive. The shadow war will have to surface sooner or later. We are moving from investigative journalists to leak journalism. Sources are handing over information with hidden agendas, such as influencing public opinion or bringing down political figures. This transition poses risks of manipulation as journalists risk becoming instruments of external powers. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.